Hi, my name's Noel Batten. Have you ever had to watch a loved one go through a terrible, long, drawn-out suffering after being diagnosed with Parkinson's disease or multiple sclerosis? Many families have gone through that pain without realising that these patients are being forced to go through that suffering because doctors and neurologists are taught at medical school to pass on false information that was fabricated way back in the late 1800s about the cause of the symptoms these patients develop. Do you think that you would be disappointed or angry even if you found out there is a way to help these patients escape their suffering, but the drug companies are stopping us from finding out about it? Well, let me tell you, there is a way to help these patients, and the worst part of this is that the answers are documented in many medical journals and medical books that are purposely being excluded from medical school training. I know, this is a little hard to believe, but it's true. This here is one of many folders that I have that have solutions for these suffering patients, but they're just being cast aside and ignored. This here is a book published 200 years ago by Dr. James Parkinson himself, the doctor who Parkinson's disease was named after. And in this, he explains the real causes of Parkinson's and MS symptoms, but drug company executives are being allowed to ban this book and the curative answers in it from medical school training. If you go to my website, you can read quotes from this book to see this truth for yourself, so that you and nobody in your family can be cheated out of your health if you begin to develop any of the symptoms associated with Parkinson's disease and multiple sclerosis. Now, this video clip I'm showing you now is of medical surgeon Dr. Antonio Pineda, a Parkinson patient who could get no help at all from any of his medical colleagues to even just alleviate the suffering his advanced tremors were causing him. Like most Parkinson and MS patients with advanced tremors, Dr. Pineda was so distraught over his suffering, he was ready to commit suicide before his family brought him to me for the BA10 program, where he achieved complete remission in only 4 days. You have to be able to see this as proof that Parkinson's disease is not caused by surely the dopamine-producing cells in the Substantia Nigra in the brainstem, and the symptoms of MS are not caused by Myelin Degeneration, as they would have to be caused by the stress-provoked musculoskeletal problems that I am addressing in the BA10 program. There's bound to be a few skeptics who don't believe my claim that I always see a symptom reduction proportional to the reduction I create in musculoskeletal abnormalities. so I wish to present the following before and after spinal photos showing the improvements I strive to achieve. First are Dr. Pinita's Day 1 and Day 5 comparison photos that are proportional to his improvement, and after that are several others. The next is of Parkinson's patient Barry Black, who had a spinal kink at his T1 and T2 vertebra and a twisted pelvis, also due to excess muscle tension on one side of his spine. As I corrected these problems, along with the stress that provoked them, his sleep improved and his symptoms went away after having them for 30 years and contemplating suicide on many occasions. Now, whilst most medical doctors, chiropractors and naturopaths may tell you it's impossible to correct spinal kinks and curvature, I assure you I have discovered ways to achieve that success, and when I do, I always see Parkinson's and MS symptom reduction proportional to the improvement you will see between the before photo and the after photo that I take when I'm treating most of my clients. My third photo comparison is of Parkinson's patient Sarah Cunningham, whose back photos show a version of the same problems I see in all Parkinson's and MS patients, followed by her spinal x-rays, again revealing cervical and lumbar abnormalities. Then there is Ross Collins's back photo comparison and lumbar x-ray, once again revealing the real causes of his symptoms, which I overcame in only a matter of 5 days to put him into complete remission. Then after Ross comes Parkinson's patient Victor, who also had the subluxation, spinal curve and excess muscle tensions, again provoked by stress, that when overcome, put him into complete remission. I can show you a vast array of these spinal comparison photos and x-rays that give absolute proof of the cause of their symptoms. If you go to my website, you can see the success videos of all these patients whose spinal comparison photos I've presented for you here, and not one of them suffered atrophy of the dopamine-producing cells in the Substantia Nigra or Myelin Degeneration. Not one of them. Now I want you to see how the corrections I made in Dr. Pinita's spine and muscular system improved him so much in a matter of 4 days and stopped his tremors, allowed him to jog like he used to before his fine inner shaking and first visible symptom developed. Yeah. Wow. Oh my goodness, he's jogging.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's really good. That's really good. Right, that's really good. You guys will be real happy, eh?
Yeah.
Can you even begin to imagine how disappointed and angry Dr. Pinita and his family were at the way the drug companies have been allowed to manipulate the medical system since way back in the late 1800s, which has cheated many, many thousands of patients out of their lives? Please stay with me and take a close look at all the proof that I'm offering in this video and information I'm referring you to on my website. This information can save you an enormous amount of pain and suffering if you protect your family members from being misled by this pharmaceutical deception. Videos you're about to see show instant improvement to symptom-affected muscles when I find the blocked nerves that are causing a symptom and repeatedly press on the nerves or nerve junctions in order to pump the stopped neurotransmitter down to the symptom-affected muscles to temporarily give them life.
Look at me.
Yep.
Look at me.
Yep, I see. Okay, so let me do something.
Va a hacer algo.
I'm going to press a nerve here.
Él lo va a decir.
Take a breath. Take a really deep breath.
Profunda, una respiración
Hold it for 4, 3, 2, and breathe out. And let go your tension. Lean back.
Dice que usted hasta 4, 4, 3, soltando el aire.
Que no recuerde lo de la mañana.
Sí, quítesela.
No recuerde lo de la mañana. No recuerde lo que pasó la mañana.
No, que se relaje, no recuerde. Trate de relajarse.
Now put your feet out. Put your feet out.
Abra las piernas.
Right. Take a breath. Hold it. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now breathe out and relax. So now it's all gone. In a matter of seconds, I massaged the nerves and the psoas muscle on this side, and put your feet out, and it's gone. To show you that the temporary elimination of Dr. Panita's tremors by massaging the 5 blocked nerve junctions I found was not just coincidental, I'll now show you a number of other Parkinson's and MS patients whose tremors I also stopped in only a matter of seconds by taking pressure off the nerves that were causing the tremors by separating vertebrae in the spine, pressing on misaligned vertebrae to push them back towards their correctly aligned position, or turning the spine to maximum to neutralise a spinal curve or a twisted pelvis. If you or one of your family members or a friend ever develops a tremor or any other Parkinson's or MS symptom, such as optic neuritis, loss of the sense of smell, numbness or tingling in an arm or leg, or problems with balance, make sure you show them this video to prevent them from being cheated out of their health and their life by this 200-year-old pharmaceutical scam.
No te olvides que un masajista puede hacer un trabajo mucho mejor para relajarse si tienes música de relajación en el fondo y hacer el 4x4 ejercicio de respiración profunda y liberar la tensión desde dentro a medida que exhalas periódicamente durante el masaje.
Now there can be no doubt that the cause of Carlos's tremors was the carious state of his cervical spine, once again proving beyond any doubt that atrophy of the dopamine producing cells in his Substantia Nigra was not the cause of his tremors. Now I'd like to show you another Parkinson patient video clip of my client Merrick, who had a curvature in the lumbar section of his spine, which you're going to see is the cause of his tremors. When a person has a spinal curvature, several vertebrae at the most severe bend of that curvature become tilted enough to put pressure on the spinal cord, and sometimes turning around can compensate for that vertebral tilt and thus take pressure off the spinal cord to stop any symptoms that have been created. On this occasion with Merrick, when I had him turn around and look behind him, his tremor stopped in seconds, proving beyond any doubt that his tremors were not caused by atrophy of the dopamine-producing cells in his substantia nigra, as he had been incorrectly told by his neurologist. Now I want you to turn at the waist and look behind you at the wall. All the way around. Turn it all the way around with your waist. That's when your legs slow down. They start to slow down. Look at that.
Oh yeah. Wow,
there you go.
Amazing.
So it is to do with the nerve.
Yeah, yeah.
The nerves that you're... Now see how your tremors are coming back. Now let them come back. Well, when they've come back just as much, we're going to do it again just to confirm that is... I want you to turn around again and see if that changes the right around. There you go, immediately. Immediately makes a difference. If you stay there, turn a bit further. There you go, it's nearly stopped.
There it is there.
Now it's stopped completely. So there you go. Now look ahead again.
I could
Immediately coming back again. So now I would like to read a quote from Dr. Parkinson's book, which also reveal these two problems can cause tremors. This is from page 37. Palsy of the lower limbs, which is frequently found to accompany a curvature of the spine and in which a carious state of the vertebra is found to exist. Righto, Nathan, let's see if we can stop the tremor by pressing against your C3 first. That's your C3 vertebra. So your head shaking has slowed down, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Your arms too.
Yeah, well, definitely the left arm stopped.
Right, so now let's press on the C1. Well, that has more of an effect, doesn't it?
Oh. Yeah.
Nobody can dispute that Nathan's C1 and C3 subluxations were the cause of his tremors, which shows that this is a chiropractic problem, not a medical problem. And medical leaders need to step aside and give right away to chiropractic leaders in the treatment of these muscular rigidity autoimmune disorders. So your leg's shaking again. I'm going to find the nerve down here in your back that's causing it to shake, and I'll press that nerve. There you go. It's that swollen area there. It's all in crisis. Lift this leg up as high as you can. If you can, bring it right up and touch me. Alright, that's good. Now do the other one. That's it. Alright. So it's already starting to hurt now. Is it? Let it go, let it go. Relax, let it, give it to me to heal. Let me heal it. Now I'm going to start grabbing some of your nerve points here. And down here. fact, how about that?
That's pretty good.
How about that?
That's all right.
So that's proof to you that this is not myelin degeneration.
You know, it's weak along here and maybe, I don't know what nerve movement there, but I just haven't got that strength or whatever, you know, I just can't move it myself.
Yep. So kick that, turn your foot out and kick that.
Oh, it's starting to...
Like that. That's how you should be able to do it on this
Yeah.
one. 6 nerve junctions here. I'm going to massage them until there's no soreness, and then let's see if you can turn your foot out more. Legs is 8. Is that the soreness starting to go on that one?
Still sore, but not as much.
Take a real deep breath. Hold it. Now, let's push the box. So that was a lot easier, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So can you see?
Wow.
It's like there's 8 of them that I just worked.
Mm.
It made such a difference to your foot movement. So you put that on it's attached to your shoelace?
Yes. When you lift,
Oh, I see.
it comes up.
So it's an elastic cord,
Yeah, it's a bungee cord.
and you've got a strap around your shoulders.
Yeah.
Now on day 1, you couldn't do that, could you? Lifting up to the next step.
No.
Could you?
No, I had to go sideways and
Oh,
one
right.
step at a time.
Yeah. You really look relaxed, you know that?
Sorry?
You really look relaxed.
I'd lost all hope. The doctors were telling me I'd be in a wheelchair soon. I only walk about 5 metres before I was in pain.
Yep.
You know, I had no options really as far as medication was concerned. Nothing was working. I wanted control back.
And you've now got that control back.
Yeah.
And the secrets of my treatment, they really work, don't they?
Oh, they do. They do.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So you were taking 3 L-dopa,
I think.
125 grams each.
Yes.
You didn't stop it or slow it?
No, if anything, they speeded it up. That's why I phoned up. I said, look, these have made it worse.
Yeah.
He said they do tend to do that when you first go on the tablets, but he said then afterwards it should slow down. The next time, he said, I am a bit disappointed that they didn't help you with what they have. I said, oh, they haven't helped me at all.
Mm.
So we've got 5 relatives who are all doctors, and they said, look, you know, those tablets, they're not a good thing really. You know, after 5 or 6 years, they won't have any effect at all.
Yeah.
So they've got a blinking effect now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they said,
But your neurologist said even though you don't feel an effect,
take them.
you should take them anyhow.
Yes.
So now I'd like to show you Parkinson's patient William, whose tremors also stopped in seconds when I pushed his C1 vertebra around towards its correctly aligned position to stop it from twisting his medulla spinalis. I'm going to push on that C1 vertebra again. Now let's try from the other side. So that slowed it down a bit, didn't it?
Yeah.
Your arm tremor's still there, I can see that in your hand there.
Okay.
So when you turn your head to the right, that tremor pretty much stops. Okay, turn back again. And it starts up and gets worse again.
Yeah.
Now turn to the right again just to confirm that it is helping. Definitely. All right. I'm working with these patients all the time, and believe me, they suffer terribly in silence. And 9 times out of 10, unless you live in the same house with one of these patients, you only see them out in the public at their best, when they're calming everything, when they're smoking marijuana like Montel Williams, or many of them drink alcohol to calm their nerves and to slow their muscles down and give them peace of mind. Please, don't allow this pharmaceutical deception devastate your family. If any of you develop the shakes, like a fine inner nervousness, which is the very first symptom of Parkinson's, MS and several other muscular rigidity autoimmune disorders, and how tremors begins, do whatever you can to minimise your stress, regularly see a chiropractor, and do whatever you need to do to relax your whole muscular system. If you allow that fine inner shaking that precedes every symptom of Parkinson's disease and MS to develop into tremors, believe me, that will be the sorriest day in your life. You don't see this suffering, so you're probably having trouble understanding what I'm saying. But believe me, you cannot take this lightly. I'm sure that most people really don't have a clue about the suicidal severity of the long drawn-out suffering these patients endure, with no idea of the pharmaceutical deception that's feeding it. This video is designed to save you, your close friends, and your family from a terrible suffering. Please take it seriously. Another quote from Dr. Parkinson's book, which is on page 35. He describes the symptoms as a disease of the vertebra, derangement of structure in the medulla or in its membranes. The facts in this book became public knowledge 200 years ago. Why isn't any of this information being passed on to patients? I'm just a natural therapist with nowhere near the education that medical doctors and neurologists have under their belt, yet I can figure all this out. In my opinion, this is just a pharmaceutical farce that is making millions for the pharmaceutical drug companies, doing nothing for patients, but causing patients to experience a long, drawn-out suffering that leads to premature death. Now I'd like to read from 3 medical reports, which is only a drop in the bucket of all the reports available which explain lack of dopamine and substantia nigra cell death have nothing to do with the symptoms of Parkinson's disease. Here is one medical report that covers 4 autopsies carried out in Japan. 4 autopsies reveal even the worst debilitated Parkinson's patients who suffered dementia did not have substantia nigra atrophy. Macroscopical examination of the brain disclosed slight depigmentation of the substantia nigra and prominent depigmentation of the locus coeruleus in all 4 cases. The second is from the University of Copenhagen. Neuroscience researchers have gained new knowledge about the complex processes that cause Parkinson's disease. In spite of dopamine cell death, which they're only presuming here because the patient's still alive, there are no signs of a lack of dopamine, even at a comparatively late stage of the process. Here's another one. This is submitted by Dr. Ronald Mandel of the Florida University, who carried out gene therapy to try and reinstate damaged cells in the substantia nigra. For a long time we've known that if the cells that produce the chemical dopamine died, then you would get the effects of Parkinson's disease. Once again, he's only presuming this because he hasn't done his research. Researchers therefore focused on trying to save those cells, but when we were able to do so, we still saw all the signs of the disease. This Mandel report was published 17 years ago, and it is absolute medical proof that lack of dopamine and atrophy or death of the dopamine-producing cells in the substantia nigra is not the cause of Parkinson's symptoms. Yet doctors and neurologists are still being trained at medical school to tell patients so that, in my opinion, they will keep taking their useless dopamine-based pharmaceutical drugs. Somebody needs to investigate this pharmaceutical scam. Doctors and neurologists are also taught to do an MRI to look for lesions on the brain and spinal cord to help them make a diagnosis of Parkinson's or MS. This search for lesions in recent times, however, has become quite confusing for medicos because it's already documented in medical journals that people who have had no Parkinson's or MS symptoms have been found to have lesions. And many Parkinson's and MS patients have been found to have no lesions. Because of this confusion, medical leaders have come up with a new test called a DAT scan test. And this new test reveals the level of dopamine in a person's body. The problem with this test, though, is that low dopamine levels only mean that a person's unhappy. Through this test, they also discovered that many Parkinson's and MS patients are seen to have adequate and even high levels of dopamine. So, no matter how desperate they get in trying to justify prescribing their pharmaceuticals, they will never be able to beat what Dr. Parkinson explains in this book and how strongly it calls for chiropractic care combined with the services of a natural autoimmune practitioner. Let me show you a video clip that I did a few years ago that'll help to top this off. The brain will only show normal levels of dopamine if a person is happy and loving, because dopamine, a hormone that medical experts have nicknamed the hormone of love, is only released properly into the brain if a person is experiencing happiness and loving thoughts. This means they can do a DAT scan on anybody who's been unhappy and get a negative reading, even though they have no physical symptoms that they can relate to a disease. What sort of confusion is this going to cause? Here are some questions and answers from the New York Parkinson's Disease Foundation website explaining the DAT scan. The answers are supplied by Dr. James Beck in relation to Parkinson's disease. Question number 1. What is the DAT scan? Answer. The DAT scan is an imaging technology that uses small amounts of a radioactive drug to help determine how much dopamine is available in a person's brain. Question number 2. Can the DAT scan diagnose Parkinson's disease? Answer. DAT scans cannot diagnose Parkinson's disease. These scans are used to help a doctor confirm a diagnosis. Well, if there's no main test to show that a person has Parkinson's disease, how can the DAT scan possibly do a confirmation? Question number 3. What is the role of the DAT scan for people living with Parkinson's? Answer. Currently, there is no objective test for Parkinson's disease. In my opinion, they can't come up with a test for Parkinson's disease because I don't believe it even exists. The symptoms are caused by extreme muscle stiffness that's provoked by life stress, just as Dr. James Parkinson described way back in the 1800s. But medical doctors to this day are still ignoring him because this reasoning will give popularity to natural therapy ideals, which will then reduce pharmaceutical drug sales. And my goodness, we can't have that, can we?